I don't know what it was about this episode, but it was something about the plot of this episode that made this one of my favorite episodes of the entire series. I just can't quite put my finger on it. Can you? And welcome to my Safe Gayven, everybody. Thank you guys so much for clicking on another video and rocking with me for all these boots reviews, joining me here on the BlackGayComicGeek channel. But with that said, if this is your first time checking out one of my videos, let me introduce myself. My name is Michael. I call myself the BlackGayComicGeek, and I always say the things that I mostly like to talk about on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the four. So this channel, I mostly like to talk about fantasy, superheroes, horror, comic books, sci-fi, action movies, and of course I like to talk about black representation and queer representation. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you think representation matters and through representation equals normalization, and you want a perspective that will decolonize your fantasy, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, help me to grow the channel, hit that like button as well, because that also will help me grow the channel, because it will push this video in the YouTube algorithm, letting people know that people are enjoying the videos. It will recommend this video and my channel in general to other people, so more eyes can see the channel, more eyes can subscribe, and more eyes can help me grow this YouTube journey that I'm on. So with that said, again, if this is your first time checking out one of my videos and you haven't checked out my reviews for episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, go back and check out the other reviews for Boots, because I'm here reviewing all 8 episodes of Boots. Full spoilers, by the way. And so with this episode, if you couldn't tell by the title, we will be talking about episode 6 of Boots. But before I get into it, a little Black Gay Comic Geek housekeeping. So pretty much since I started reviewing Boots, I've been releasing a review every single day for the past week. But just to let people know, I will not be releasing a review for episode 7 tomorrow, which is Friday when this video is posted, because I am working on trying to go live with the writer of episode 7, Dominic Colin. And so I'm trying to work out his schedule and having it align with my schedule, and then also to give me time to promote the live so people actually show up and engage in the chat and everything like that. So the video for episode 7 won't go up on Friday. It will probably go up sometime next week. I'm maybe thinking Monday or Tuesday. I don't know if I can do Monday. He said he might be booked on another podcast, but maybe Tuesday at like 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But with that said, guys, hit that bell notification button on my channel so you're alerted every single time I post a new video, and you'll be alerted when I post the announcement that I'll be going live for episode 7. And worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, that I'm able to get Dominic Colin, because maybe the schedules don't align or anything like that, I'll still end up reviewing episode 7. Maybe I just won't go live, because the whole point is that I'm live with the writer. But yeah, still going to be talking about every episode of Boots. Now that that's all out the way, let's get into episode 6. This episode is called The Things We Carry. And the synopsis for this episode is: as news of Ochoa's death spreads around the base like wildfire, Cameron and the rest of the recruits try to grapple with his death. Captain Fajardo begins to confide in Sergeant McKinnon, and Cameron receives a new bunkmate, Jones, a transfer from a different platoon. And the thing that I love about this episode and why it is one of my favorites, outside of like the joke of thirsting over the half-naked, or in some cases fully naked men, which there is some thirsting over that, but the thing I love about this episode is, if I could just give this episode one word to describe it, it's humanity. And the thing about this episode is you get to see the humanity of all the characters, including all the drill instructors. You get to see more of their life, their backstory, and you get to see their true persona outside of the facade of being the hard-ass drill instructor. And that's the thing that I enjoyed most about this episode. Even jumping around a little bit, like you get to see Captain Fajardo. Even though she is the boss, you get to see a little bit more about like her drive and her ambition. She's the first woman to be the leader of an all-male platoon. And so she has ambitions. and goals and desires. And she's also friends with McKinnon, and kinda you see in this episode that she trusts McKinnon enough that she confides in McKinnon and lets him know everything that's happening with Sergeant Sullivan. And you even get to see that McKinnon, ally, he's another one, even he is just like, so wait a minute, you mean to tell me they're investigating him because he might be gay? Like, who cares who he's sleeping with? This man has a silver heart. He has a purple heart. Like, he has a proven track record of being a good Marine. So, like, who cares if he's gay? So, yes, rah-rah for McKinnon. It made me like McKinnon even more. And of course, we got to see his wife. We got to meet his new daughter. So I like seeing that backstory. And then also even getting to see a little bit more about Sergeant Howard. Like, we see that the death of Ochoa, it's affecting him. He, in some ways, feels responsible. Like that moment that he connected with Sergeant Sullivan, he was like, what are they saying about me? Do they think it's my fault? So again, you're getting to see more of the humanity of these characters. And of course, you get to see the backstory of Sergeant Sullivan and the incident that caused him to go over to this boot camp in the first place. So you get to see, what was it, 6 months earlier or something like that. But before I get into that, let's actually just make it through the entire episode. So the episode begins where, a little different, instead of it being the platoon that we've been following, 2032, I believe, we got to see the girls platoon with the girl that we met in what was it, episode 3, that recruit Ray McAfee. He ended up meeting her, so we got to see their platoon. And then apparently rumors are spreading because everybody's found out about Ochoa and him dying. But of course, when you play the game telephone, the story never stays consistent. So some people think he took himself out with a gun and all this other stuff, but at the end of the day, people know that he's no longer alive. And this is the first time McKinnon even mentioned, because it's also affecting McKinnon as well. He's not showing it when he's at the platoon, but when we had that conversation with Fajardo and him, he's also affected by the death of Ochoa. He said in the 12 years that he's been sergeant and drill instructor, he's never lost a recruit. And so while something like this might be a common occurrence as a Marine, as a trainee, as a recruit, it's virtually unheard of. And so that news is spreading far and wide. And while it was spreading, we actually got to see that John Bowman is still there. John Bowman has not been kicked out of the Marines. He was just transferred to a different platoon. And he seems to be doing well overall without that now added pressure of having his brother breathing down his neck and over his shoulders and everything like that. And then also we get to meet a new character, Recruit Jones. I don't know his first name, but Recruit Jones, and it's a new gay character because we see him checking out another male Marine's ass, and he seems to be way more comfortably gay than Cope is. So they could be introducing him as a potential love interest for Cope, because we do see by the end of this episode, he becomes Cope's bunkmate. Me personally, I still ship Nash and Cope, even though Nash has some work to do, but he's been working, like even by the end of this episode, he's trying to do and be better. So I ship the two of them, but you know, I'm not a writer. But if I do get a writer on, if I do get Dominic on, I'm definitely going to ask him if he ships Nash and Cope. And of course, I'm not expecting him to tell me anything, but I just want to know, like, what does he think about that potential relationship? And going back to the humanity discussion, like in almost an Avengers 1 type of way, just like Phil Coulson's death ended up rallying the rest of the Avengers, in many ways, the death of Ochoa kind of ends up rallying the rest of the recruits, in the sense like this is the moment that, even though there still was conflict between them, and we'll get to that with like the food fight, but they're now starting to be there for each other. They're now starting to see the brotherhood of each other and the humanity of each other, even with the makeup session that almost sounds like a sex thing, but making up of Ray and Cameron. Nash making up with Cope. Even in many ways, Slovacek not being an asshole like he was. He's still somewhat of a bully, but not even, but in an almost like motherly way, like just to like during the kitchen scene, like he was trying to get them, like, he was being mean, but only to get them to, like, do their job because they were just standing there talking while the rest of them were working. But he wasn't like a bully about it. It was almost just like in a motherly type of way, like the mother of the group. So like they're all slowly starting to come together. That's what he said. And scene by scene, moment by moment, you're also starting to see the evolution of Cope, him starting to stand up more, speak up more for himself, assert himself more when before he wouldn't. Like even when Sergeant Sullivan called him into his office and you could see him kind of hesitating. He didn't want to speak up, but then eventually he did and asked and like almost kind of put it in Sergeant Sullivan's head, like, this guy died. Are we going to do anything for him? Is there going to be any words of kindness or anything like that? Which then, I believe, gave Sergeant Sullivan that idea at the end of the episode where he gave them all the bottle of whiskey or the bottles of whiskey. But it was because of Cope, him speaking up, or even that moment that he was giving up Ochoa's clothing, sending that back to the platoon wardrobe center or whatever it's called. I don't know. He spoke up to ask if he can keep like paraphernalia, his cap. It's a small moment, but it's also a major moment for Cope. But also with that, at the same time, you take 2 steps forward, you take 1 step back. We see like the whole dynamic with him talking to his more confident self. Like we see that in his mind, he thinks in order to be more confident and to be more assertive and to be a military and good enough for the military, he has to bury his weakness, which in his mind, his weakness is him being gay. Because his gay self, his other self, his more confident self was like, we haven't talked in a while. It's because he's trying to bury that side of him because that's what he thinks he needs to do. And so his journey, it's a very tricky journey, is obviously navigating and learning that you can be strong, you can be confident, you can be assertive, but you can also still be gay, proud, and all of that together makes up the beautiful onion that you are, because as an onion, we have layers, and part of his layers is also being gay, which ironically enough is something that Sergeant Sullivan has to learn as well. That it's okay to be gay. It's just, it's hard in the situation that he's in because he's literally in an organization where it's illegal for him to be gay. But speaking of getting into Sergeant Sullivan's backstory, we get to see like, yeah, I mean, in some ways he kind of really doesn't have anyone. Like we don't know his home, what his home life is like, but his friend clearly is homophobic. So he can't confide in his friend like how Cameron can confide in Ray. But we get to meet the love of his life, Major Wilkinson, and how they have to basically hide this relationship. And it's not just a sexual thing. Like Sergeant Sullivan said, he loved him. This is a loving relationship. They talked about getting out of the military together at a certain point so that they can be open and proud and, you know, not have to sneak away to be able to just cuddle, embrace, and have sex with each other. And them getting that Semper Fi tattoo is kind of their way of connecting with each other and staying connected from each other from afar. And it was both beautiful and sad to see, because you just think about how, even though this is a fictionalized version of somebody's life, this type of stuff has happened throughout history. This type of stuff is even happening today in 2025. Like, as accepting as we quote unquote are now in America, we're also not, because just look at what's happening. Again, the whole reason this show is gaining traction on Netflix is because, like, people in the Pentagon, I don't think it was Pete Hegseth himself, but people in the Pentagon are calling this show woke garbage, even though it's literally about somebody's life. They're trying to get rid of trans people in the military. They're trying to reverse gay marriage. If it was up to them, the Lawrence v. Texas ruling, which said that same-sex consenting adults can have sex in the privacy of their own home, and you can't criminalize same-sex relations. So again, with consenting adults, if it was up to them, that would still be illegal, which many people don't realize. Like, that law was abolished in 2003, not 1903, 2003. And in many places around the world, you can still be criminalized simply for being homosexual, queer, trans, etc. And that's exactly why, as commercialized as it's become, events like Pride are still necessary, which is again why I always say, and will continue to say, representation matters, and through representation, it equals normalization. But also in seeing Sergeant Sullivan's backstory, I'm like, wait a minute, he can sing? You hear him singing, "We Are the Champions." I was like, wait a minute now, wait a minute, Max Parker. Like, I need to see more. There needs to be a karaoke scene with Sergeant Sullivan hitting. I was like, all right, the man can blow in more ways than others. But I can't do this entire episode not like acknowledge this moment right here. Like, I gotta showcase this moment right here. Of course, I censored it for YouTube, but like, bow chicka wow wow. Again, the things that I love to watch in my entertainment has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the four. So here's the sex part. Now, with that said, in terms of like the entire platoon coming together to grapple and deal with and grieve the death of Ochoa, you see the person that's really affected by it and grieving the most is Santos. And Santos is looking for someone to blame, and he's obviously placing the blame on Howard. He thinks and is assuming and accusing Howard of being the reason that Ochoa is dead. And the moment that we see him talking with Isaiah Nash, and he was saying, you heard the racist things that Ochoa was saying about us not Howard, Howard was saying about us and Ochoa behind his breath. And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, now, I would not be surprised. You got a white man, a straight white man, allegedly, because I don't know Howard's sexuality, but a straight white man in the military, and he's racist. I wouldn't be surprised at that, but just based on what the show has shown us, unless I'm missing something, I'm like, I don't remember Howard saying anything racist. If anything, that was Knox. So maybe like off camera he said something, but I'm just like, as far as I know, he hasn't said anything racist. And I'm like, I don't know if that just could be him just trying to find or figure out ways to blame him, or he's like conflating Knox and Ochoa. I mean, I keep saying Ochoa. He's conflating Knox and Howard as basically the same person, but either way, he's looking for someone to blame, and he's angry. So angry, in fact, that like he wants to fight. Like he wants to almost kind of kill somebody, because the man went way overboard. Because even when they were having a food fight in the mess hall, in the kitchen, everybody's throwing food at each other, which is nasty. But at the end of the day, you can wash that off, and no harm, no foul. But when he's in the food fight, he picks up a glass cup and tries to throw it, or not even tries to throw it. He throws it at Slovacek and tries to hit him. And I'm just like, dude, like, what are you doing? Because I'm just like, imagine if Slovacek didn't duck and that glass cup actually hit him. Especially with it being glass. Like, you're already grieving the death of Ochoa. Like, imagine if that glass were to hit him and hit him in a certain way and shatter. Like, you could have killed him and maybe potentially, if not killed him, cause irreparable damage. Like, it could have cut his eye and caused him to go blind in his eye. Like, dude, what are you doing? But the thing that I appreciated is Nash was able to kind of be the angel on his shoulder and just be like, look, I get you want to find somebody to blame, but at the end of the day, we all have something to like blame ourselves for with regard to Ochoa and not treating him right, or maybe not speaking to him as much as maybe we should have in this entire platoon, or looking down upon him or whatever. He even said like, yeah, I could blame Howard, but guess what? Look at all the things that I wrote about Ochoa in my book. And like, I feel like Santos kind of maybe feels guilty as well, because in some ways he kind of looked down on him in many ways. Not like fully, but like when he found out that he couldn't speak Spanish, and you even see like Cameron like thinking to himself like, damn, he was my bunkmate and I barely spoke to him because I saw how people were picking on him, and I didn't want to also get associated with that as well, because it's already bad enough that I feel like people are picking on me because I'm gay. And so associating with him, who's seen as the dumb one, that's even more of a target on my back. And honestly, when Cameron was explaining that, I kind of felt that. Like, I remember thinking in like my personal life with like me dealing with the struggles of being gay and not being as overly feminine as some other gay people that I knew, and having somebody that I knew that grew up and he was more feminine. So he had the whole gay stench on him more, and he wanted to be my friend, and I didn't want to be associated with him because I knew people were bullying him and clowning on him and criticizing him for being gay. And I was like, I don't want to be around that. I don't want to associate that, because then what if people start thinking I'm gay? Nobody's really like bullying me and criticizing me for being gay, because I was always the weird kid. So I was always able to avoid that level of bullying, because I was always like the one in the back making cat noises and hissing at people and, changing my voice up and being weird and doing all this other stuff. So I was always called Cat Boy in elementary school, because if somebody would say something to me, I would just like hiss at them or like meow at them and everything like that. And that was like my cover to avoid like the bullying and all that other stuff being weird. And then just being a theater kid, like that's just theater kid 101, like changing your voice, like, because I also wanted to be a voice actor at a certain point. Like, so that's just when you get to college, it's like, oh, I found my tribe. That's just normal. So because of that, if I said or did anything that for anybody else, it could be perceived as gay, I would get the reaction of, oh, that's just Michael being Michael. That's just Michael being weird, his typical self. Little did they know, I was both weird and gay. But like in many instances, I was cope, you know, as a kid, just like, yeah, I don't want to associate myself with this particular person, even though that person was like a friend, like somebody that I was friendly with, and we had a lot in common. But in public, I was just like, leave me alone, like go away, because people think you're gay. I don't want people to think I'm gay. Like, back away. And so that was me in a certain extent. So I felt that when he said that. And of course, the episode eventually ends where Sergeant Sullivan gives them all 3 bottles of whiskey. They don't know if it's a joke or a test, but eventually they start drinking. And like, what's his name? Ray. This is where he confesses his love for Cameron in a platonic, straight way, but basically just like lets him know, like, you know, I got mad at you for lying, but you know, the truth is I've been keeping secrets from you. We found out that the reason Ray, because he tried to join the Air Force, but he ended up failing out of that because he had a panic attack. He lied to Ray about it. Cameron asked him, like, I trusted you with my secret about being gay. Why couldn't you trust me with your secret about getting kicked out of the Air Force? And it all goes to that facade that he has to always be perfect. He has to always be number one. He has to always be somebody that Cameron can look up to. And he didn't kind of want to, he said that he didn't know why he didn't want to tell Cameron the truth, but that's the reason. He didn't want to break that facade in Cameron's eyes of him always being perfect. But in some ways, this is that starting to slowly, those walls slowly starting to crumble, and him just, admitting, like, to Cameron, like, you are my best friend. You are the best thing for me. And I'm so glad that you're here. Like, reiterating what he said in episode 1, but it being stronger emphasis and more heartfelt. And while he's under the influence of being super drunk with whatever the hell Hicks concocted. Like, Hicks is somebody that needs to be watched. Like, even, and that's something I forgot to mention in episode 5. Well, like, his whole idea where he jumped up, like, during rifle season, and he was like, what does it feel like to kill a man? Like, he's unhinged. But speaking of being unhinged, and this is something that a friend of mine, Jessica, brought up in the comments of one of my other videos, but this episode kind of confirmed that, but they put something in the food and drinks to prevent them from getting erections. Because Hicks brought it up. He was like, when's the last, because for the most part, unless you have like something major, like medical problems going on with you, all men wake up with morning wood. It's not every single morning, but more times than not, depending on what time you wake up as well, like, you will wake up hard. It's not because you're having it's not necessarily because you're having sex dreams or anything like that. That's just your natural body circulation and natural body, what's the word I'm trying to find? I don't know, function. There we go. Your body's natural function. So like, some people would just assume, like, because a man wakes up with an erection, he had a sex dream in the middle of that. It's not necessarily. That's just your body, you know, naturally doing what it does. But to like prevent like rape and things like that, that's why they like put things in the food to like prevent a man, not to like hinder you, but like it like lowers your libido more or less. So like, there was a moment where Slovacek, he was like, wait, I've woke up with wood before. Then he thought about it. He was like, oh wait, no, I haven't. And then he's like, no, I can get hard. I thought he was going to like pull his pants down and show them. I was like, oh yeah, pull it down. But then he just stood up, and I was like, oh, okay. But that's also pretty gay, bro. But yeah, that's pretty much episode 6. I think I mentioned and got through everything that I, wanted to talk about. It was cool to get to see other platoons and, things like that, and seeing that it's more than just these group of people. And we saw obviously some of that with like Sergeant Knox's team, but actually getting to see like even the whole women's platoon and seeing them basically still going through the same thing with the random morning wake ups and the exercise, all that other stuff. But then just, again, like I said, getting to see the humanity of these characters, seeing them behind the facade of being recruits and even drill sergeants. And so can't wait to see more of that develop in episodes 7 and 8, and then seeing what drama this new gay recruit that is in platoon 2030, 23, whatever their platoon name, Cameron Cope's new bunkmate, to see what mess he's going to start to stir up and also bring out of Cameron. So we'll see for episode 7. So with that said, what did you guys think about episode 6? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. Again, like, share, comment, interact on this video and all my videos for the all gay rhythm. Hopefully you even made it to the end of this video. If you like what you see, check out the other videos on my channel and hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And once again, hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video and when I post the release that I will be potentially going live with Dominic Colin, who is the writer of episode 7. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.